Okay, so I had mentioned that on more than one occasion, and I believe I put it in the class description if memory serves, that we're going to be turning to Mortimer Adler's book, How to Read a Book, for some direction on how to read more carefully and analytically. So you do not have to buy this book to do the course. The book's name is How to Read a Book. But you will not need that book. I'm just showing it to you so you know when I refer to Adler, this is the book I'm referring to. And if you want to buy it, it certainly will be very helpful to you for this class and for many other classes, that basically any class that you're going to take that involves reading, which is an awful, I suspect is the majority of your classes. So this is the book, How to Read a Book. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over to a notebook that basically looks like a whiteboard, and give you some pointers on reading that I want you to start the course with and to start the week with. And as we go on, I'll be coming back to the points I'm making right now, and I'll also be adding to them as we go on in the course. So let me just turn to the notebook. So this is my little notebook on Plato's Apology, and we'll start. All right, so in Adler's book, he says there are two types of reading. Reading for information and reading for understanding. Okay, so in the first case, for reading for information, you're really looking at particular facts that the text presents you with, right? So examples from our book. Of type 1 might be, well, who is Socrates? Let's just go with a simple one first. Oops. Right? And you should think about these things as a question, as questions. Because remember I told you that you should be questioning the text. You should come away from the text with questions. And this pertains to more complicated questions or really simple things like, well, who's Socrates? Or who is Meletus? It's another name you'll be confronted with when you read when you're reading the Apology. Who is Aristophanes? And this is one of the reasons that, by the way, that people struggle with reading ancient philosophy, is that there's often reference made to a lot of different people, other types of literature, and so forth, and it's easy to feel like you're drowning in kind of this quagmire of terminology and name dropping. But the names and the things really are important to understanding, and the way to get through it is to go step by step and say, well, who's that and who's this, and make a point of trying to get it firmly established in your mind what's what. All right, then of course Athens is going to come up, right? That's a where question, right? Where is Athens? When is the apology, or when does the trial take place? Here's another example, just off of the name Athens, right, of the city. might say, well, what is the oracle, or what was the oracle at Delphi? Now notice, you have who, what, when, where. You'll often hear people say, journalists and so forth will say, who, what, when, where, why, right? Well, here we've just covered 4 of them with reading for information. Who, what, when, and where. And of course, this list isn't exhaustive. There's many other particular facts that you might look to take note of in the apology, right? But these are just some examples of things when you encounter them. You should, if you're using the Kindle version, there's a way of annotating, you're putting notes in and highlighting and so forth. If you're using the actual text, you could write right in the book and say, well, who is Socrates, right? You can use index cards, however you do your note taking. But you should be interacting with the book. And asking questions of the text like this. Okay, so this was type number 1. This was reading for information, or examples for reading for information. Okay. Now let's talk about reading for understanding. And obviously, if I'm going too quickly and you haven't finished copying, if you're taking notes while I'm doing this, you can just hit pause and then unpause when you're done. All right. So let's talk about reading for understanding now. Go to a fresh page. Okay, now in this case, you might ask a question like, why is Socrates on trial? Right? Why has Meletus brought accusations against Socrates? Okay, why are the poets relevant? You'll hear that discussed, or the poets will be referred to. So why are the poets relevant? Why might the oracle at Delphi or putting it differently, why did the oracle say Socrates was the wisest? Again, this is not an exhaustive list, but it gives you a sense of what you're doing when you're reading for understanding. And of course, these two types of reading sometimes take place together. You'll read a sentence and your big or a couple of sentences, and the big question you'll come away with is, who is this person, or what is that? But then over time, as you're doing it, sometimes a few sentences later, you'll say, but why is Aristophanes' play Clouds relevant? So for this week, what I want you to do is, a good way to approach it is you're going to in the first several pages that you have. Hold on one second. Well, you'll see in the agenda for this week, if you look at it, it has the pages that you're reading. You should skim through them first. Just Adler says to just take a read without taking any notes at all. And then go back and read more carefully, answering these kinds of questions, looking for, reading for information, looking for particular facts to try to get your bearings as to the who, the what, the when, and so forth. And then as you're doing that, also ask yourself questions about why. Those questions for understanding. All right? And as always, by the way, if you have any questions, please feel free to post them or message me. All right, take care.